The edge of the Sol system was a silent, dark place. Past Neptune and the swirling path of Pluto, there was only the deep cold and the distant, unreachable shine of other stars. Here, the research ship Curiosity's Reward moved slowly, its sensors looking at rocks and ice on the bridge. Park Jun watched his screen. His job was to look at the makeup of distant objects. It was usually very boring work. Most of the time, he found nothing but common iron and silicate rock. The ship's captain, Lee Hanna, was checking supply lists. In the small crew area, engineer Kim Tae was fixing a food machine that kept making bad coffee. Medic Choi Min was reading an old book on her tablet. They were not famous explorers. They were workers. The Martian Mineral Group paid them to scan the Kuiper Belt for rare metals. It was a simple, quiet job. Another carbonaceous chondrite, Jun said, his voice tired. Same as the last 10. Hannah did not look up from her list. Just keep scanning, Jun. The contract says we survey the sector. We survey. We get paid. Then we go home. Jun sighed. Home was a small apartment on Mars. He dreamed of finding something big, something important that had his name on it. Not just another rock. An hour later, a small blip appeared on his scope. It was an object, tumbling slowly in the dark. Its signal was faint, but the composition made Jun sit up straight. The readings were strange. There was metal, but not like normal asteroid metal. It had layers, alloys that did not match any known natural formation. And there was a faint, residual power signature. Not from a reactor, but like a battery, almost dead but still holding the smallest charge. Captain, Jun said, his voice now alert. I have something. Hannah came over. She looked at the data. Her first thought was trouble. It is probably just junk. An old probe from centuries ago. We are not here to collect space junk, Jun. We are here for ore. But look at the alloy layers, Jun insisted, pointing at the screen. This is not probe construction. This is thicker, heavier, and that power trace. It is not fading like it should. It is steady. Very, very low, but steady. Kim Tae walked onto the bridge, wiping his hands on a cloth. What is the problem? Did the food machine send a distress signal? He looked at the screen and his joking mood faded. Ha! That is a structure, not a rock. We should check it, Jun said, his heart beating faster. It could be something valuable, a historical find. There is a bounty for pre-silence era relics. Hannah shook her head. It is a waste of time, and docking is risky. We do not know what it is. We have the suits. We have the small pod, Kim Tae said, suddenly interested. I am bored of fixing machines. Let us look at a mystery. After more discussion, Hannah agreed. But she was careful. We take the pod. Just Jun and Kim. You get a visual, take a surface scan. No entering. You have 1 hour. Then we leave. Clear? The small pod left the Curiosity's Reward and flew toward the object. As they got closer, their lights revealed it. It was a ship. But what a ship! It was huge, bigger than their own vessel. It was covered in thick, gray armor, pitted and scarred from countless tiny impacts. It had no graceful lines. It was all angles and hard edges, like a weapon that had been carved from a mountain. Frost covered every surface, glittering in their pod's lights. One side was blackened, as if from a terrible fire. By all the stars, Kim Tae whispered. It is a warship, an old one. Look at the size of those gun ports. Jun felt a chill that was not from the cold. The ship was silent and dead, a tomb frozen in the void. They landed the pod on a flat part of the hull. In their heavy suits, they stepped out. Their boots slipped on the ice. Jun used a scanner. The hull is incredibly dense. And there, a hatch. It is sealed, but the mechanism looks intact. Kim Tae found a small, external panel near the hatch. It was covered in ice. I can try to power this. Give it a little kick from our pod's battery. Maybe it will tell us who made this thing. Captain said no entering, Jun reminded him. I am not entering. I am just asking the door who it is. Kim connected a small line from the pod. The panel flickered. A few dim, red symbols appeared. They were not in any language June knew. They were blocky and severe. Driven by a curiosity he could not control, June reached out. He brushed the frost from the panel's surface. He wanted to see the symbols better. As his gloved hand touched the metal, a light on the panel turned from red to a soft blue. A low hum vibrated through his boots. The hatch in front of them did not open. But deep inside the ship, something happened. A single circuit, dormant for 500 years, finished a check it had started long ago. It recognized a biological signature in the suit's external residue, a specific genetic marker carried by June, passed down from an ancestor who had served on a ship like this. The circuit triggered one action. It sent a pulse. A short, powerful data burst from a deep space antenna that was mostly broken. The pulse was not a call for help. It was an automated status report. A simple message, unit located. Deathworlder presence confirmed. The pulse shot out into the galaxy, aimed at a point in space where no human ever looked on the hull. June and Kim felt nothing but a slight vibration that stopped. The panel light went back to red, then died. "Well," Kim Tae said, "that was anticlimactic. The doorbell is broken." Back on the Curiosity's reward, Hannah was getting annoyed. "Did you find anything useful?" "An old warship," June reported, taking off his helmet. His face was pale, frozen solid, no signs of life. "It is just a relic. Fine. Historical curiosity. We will report its position when we get back. Now, let us finish our real job," Hannah said as the Curiosity's reward turned and moved away from the silent, armored giant. The small blue on June's scanner, the marker for the alien warship, slowly faded. He looked back at the dark spot in the viewport. He felt a strange emptiness, a sense that he had touched something vast and sleeping. He had no idea he had just woken it up, and he had no idea that the message was already on its way, traveling at the speed of light to a galaxy that was waiting for it with fear. The signal traveled. It moved through the empty space between stars, a single, crisp packet of data. It did not weaken. It was designed to be heard. Weeks later, in a part of the galaxy humans had never seen, the signal was heard. It reached a listening post. The post was a beautiful structure of smooth, white metal and glowing blue light. It looked like art. Inside, beings with soft, gray skin and large, dark eyes worked in quiet calm. They were the Zlask, members of the Galactic Concordance. A young Zlask operator saw the signal appear. It was on an old frequency, one used for automated alerts. She ran the translation protocol. The words appeared on her screen in the flowing script of the Concordance. It was not a long message. It gave coordinates. It gave a ship identification code, unyielding stand, and it gave a biological confirmation. Deathworlder presence active. Class 12. The operator felt a cold fear move through her body. She checked the code. She checked the ancient threat database. The red symbols flashed, confirming the worst. She immediately sent the signal to her superior, then to the sector command, then to the High Council itself. On the Concordance capital world, a meeting was called. The beings there were not soldiers. They were administrators, scientists, philosophers. Their society had not known a real war for 10,000 years. They had rules for everything. Rules for communication. Rules for trade. Rules for making sure no one was ever scared or uncomfortable. The signal scared them. It made them very uncomfortable. An older Zlask, a high director, addressed the council. His voice was soft but serious. "The signal is from the Soul Sector. The Deathworlder classification is historical. It refers to a species from a planet of extreme danger. Their world had uncontrolled weather, poisonous plants and animals everywhere, gravity too strong. They themselves were violent, adaptable beyond reason. Our records say they were contained long ago." Another being with fine feathers instead of skin spoke. Contained? Or did they just disappear? The records from that era are unclear. "The records are clear on one thing," the High Director said. He showed images from the database. They were old, blurry pictures of human warships from centuries past. Ships like the Unyielding Stand firing heavy weapons. Pictures of human soldiers in tough armor. They are creatures of conflict. A Class 12 world breeds beings who see everything as a threat or a target. If one of their warships is active and it has sent a beacon, it is a precursor. It is what they did before they attacked new systems. A wave of fear moved through the room. They were not built for this. Their ships were for showing presence, for peaceful patrol. Their weapons were designed to stop asteroids or scare away pirates. "What do the protocols say?" asked the feathered being. The High Director looked at the ancient laws. The Concordance Survival Protocol, Article 1. Regarding resurgent Deathworlder threats. It mandates immediate containment. Sterilization of the site before the threat can multiply or spread. There was a long silence. Sterilization was a clean word for a terrible thing. "Is there no other way?" someone asked. "Could we not talk?" "Talk." The High Director sounded tired. "The stories say talking does not work with them. They talk, and while they talk, they learn how to fight you better. They are traps. They break all the rules. By the time you understand their trick, it is too late. The protocol exists for a reason. It was written with blood we do not want to spill again. The decision was made. It was not made with anger, but with a sad, cold fear. They would follow the protocol. They would send a boundary fleet to the coordinates. The task fell to his last fleet director. He was a good being. He loved his family. He enjoyed quiet music and growing crystal gardens. He did not want to do this, but the order was clear and the law was the law. His duty was to protect the Concordance. His fleet was 5 ships. They were beautiful, smooth vessels that shone with blue light. They gathered at the edge of Concordance space. The crews were nervous. They had trained for this in simulations, but no one believed it would ever happen. The fleet director spoke to his captains on a screen. "Our target is a single vessel. Ancient. Possibly damaged. Our mission is to remove the threat. We will not approach closely. We will hit it from maximum distance with full volleys. We will turn it to dust and ice. Then we will scan for any signs of contamination. Any pods, any signals. We will destroy those too. This is a sad duty, but it is necessary." One of the younger captains spoke. "Director, what if they are not what the stories say? What if they have changed?" The fleet director looked old. "It does not matter. The signal came from a warship that announced its deadly nature. If we wait to see if they have changed, and we are wrong, our worlds could fall. We cannot take that chance. Prepare for the jump." The 5 beautiful ships powered their drives. Space folded around them. In a flash of blue light, they were gone, racing toward the distant, cold edge of the Sol system. They were not prepared for what they would find. They were prepared for a monster from a story. They had their rules and their clean, powerful weapons. They believed in their protocol. They were not prepared for humans who were just trying to get by. They were not prepared for a captain from a forgotten war. And they were certainly not prepared for a ship called the Unyielding Stand, which was just beginning to remember what it was. Inside the frozen warship, the single pulse had done more than send a message. It had started a process. Deep in the ship's core, a tiny trickle of power began to flow. It moved through circuits long dormant, warming them. It reached the main cryo bay. Rows of pods, like metal coffins, stood in the dark. Frost covered their windows. In pod 01, a display flickered. Numbers counted down. The fluid inside began to gently warm. Captain Yoon-ji opened her eyes. She did not move. Her mind was a storm of broken memories. The noise of battle, the screaming of metal, the red alert light spinning. The order, cryo fallback. Now, then cold, then nothing. Now, there was a slow, painful warmth. Her heart began to beat harder in her chest. She tried to breathe, but a tube was in her throat. She choked. With a hiss, the pod's front panel slid open. Cold, stale air hit her face. She grabbed the sides of the pod and pulled herself up, vomiting frozen fluid onto the floor. She was in a dark room. The only light came from her pod and one other that was also starting to glow. Her body felt heavy and weak. She was still wearing the dark blue uniform of the Earth Defense Fleet, now stiff and frozen. Her short black hair was plastered to her scalp. The other pod opened. A man fell out, coughing violently. Strategic Officer Kong Day. He looked around, his eyes wide with panic and confusion. He saw Yoon-ji. Captain, report. What is our status? Where is the enemy fleet? His voice was rough from disuse. Yoon-ji tried to stand. Her legs shook. I do not know. Cryo-fallback was activated. The ship is quiet. Her training took over. She needed information. We need the bridge. They stumbled out of the cryo bay into a dark hallway. The ship was silent except for the groan of old metal and the drip of melting ice. Emergency lights began to flicker on, casting long shadows. The ship was waking up. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the Curiosity's Reward, Lee Hannah was getting a bad feeling. June had been quiet since returning from the derelict. He kept looking at the sensor data. June, let it go. It is a dead ship. We have our own work, Hannah said. But the power signature, June said. It is different now. It is not just a battery trace. It is growing. Very slowly, but it is growing. Kim Tae leaned over. Maybe you jump-started it, like giving a dead engine a charge. Before they could discuss it, an alarm beeped. It was the proximity sensor. Something was moving on the derelict ship. Look! Choi Min, the medic, pointed at the screen. A small airlock door on the side of the massive warship was now open, a dark hole in the gray hull. We did not open that, Kim Tae whispered on the unyielding stand. Yoon-ji and Kong Dae reached the bridge. It was a wide room, now dark and covered in a thin layer of frost. Their breath fogged in the air. Yoon-ji went to the captain's chair. She pressed her hand against a panel. It recognized her. Lights began to power on one section at a time. Main screens flickered to life, showing static, then a view of the black space outside. Systems are in deep restart, Kong Dae said, sitting at his station. His fingers flew over the controls. Primary power is offline. We are on backup batteries. Life support is minimal. Weapons, offline. Engine, offline. He looked up, his face pale. We are a floating rock. Yoon-ji checked the external cameras. She saw the small, modern research ship floating nearby. There is a vessel, not one of ours. Design is unfamiliar. Her soldier's mind saw a potential threat. They could have boarded us while we slept. We should defend the ship, Kong Dae said, his voice hard. We have no way to defend it, but we can secure it. Yoon-ji found the internal security map. She saw life signs, too, moving in the lower cargo bay. Boarders. Here. She stood up, her body still protesting. She went to a wall panel and pressed a code. It opened, revealing a small locker. Inside were two heavy pistols, energy weapons from another age. She took one and handed the other to Kong Dae. We take them, quietly. We need information. On the Curiosity's Reward, June could not sit still. They came from inside the ship. There are people alive in there. We have to help them. It is a 500-year-old warship, June, Hannah said. If there are people, they might not be friendly. They will be confused, scared. That is why they need help, June insisted. I am going over. With the med kit. Hannah argued, but June was determined. Kim Tae agreed to go with him for safety. They took the pod again. This time, they flew to the open airlock. Inside the unyielding stand, it was dark and cold. Their suit lights cut through the gloom. The hallway was big, made for soldiers in heavy armor. This way, June said, looking at his scanner. The life signs are not far. They turned a corner and entered a large room with storage containers. Suddenly, two figures stepped from the shadows. They wore old, military uniforms. One was a woman with a fierce, tired face. The other was a tall man. Both pointed heavy, blocky pistols at them. Do not move, Yoon-ji commanded, her voice echoing in the empty room. Identify yourselves. June and Kim froze, their hands up. We are friends, June said, his voice shaky through the suit speaker. "We are from the research ship. We mean no harm. You are on my ship," Yunji said, her eyes sharp. "Why? Are you with the Jovian separatists?" June was confused. "Jovian? No. We are from Mars. The Martian mineral group. We found your ship drifting. It was dead. I think I accidentally activated a panel." Yunji and Kangdae looked at each other. None of his words made sense. Mars was a colony, not a power. Mineral group? This was a trick. "Drop your tools and take off your helmets," Kangdae ordered. Slowly, June and Kim did as they were told. The cold air of the ship hit their faces. They were young, scared, and clearly not soldiers. Yunji lowered her pistol slightly. "What is the date?" "The current year," June told her. The number hung in the cold air. Yunji's stern face did not change, but her eyes showed a deep, terrible shock. Kangdae took a step back, as if he had been hit. "That is impossible," Kangdae whispered. "It has been 500 years, June said softly. "The war you were in. It is over. It has been over for a very long time." Yunji stared at him. All her fights, her duty, her crew, gone. Lost in time. She was a relic. Her ship was a relic. The world she knew was dust. For the first time, the unshakable Captain Yunji felt truly lost. Then, a new, loud alarm sounded on the bridge. A deep, pounding klaxon that they had not heard before. It was the threat alarm. Kangdae ran for the bridge. Yunji turned her sharp eyes back to June. "You said you activated a panel. What did you do?" Before June could answer, Kangdae's voice shouted from the bridge, full of a fear they had not heard from him yet. "Captain, long-range sensors are back online. We have multiple incoming contacts. They are not human, and they are not hailing." The alarm was a sound from a nightmare. It was not a beep or a chime. It was a deep, throbbing horn that shook the metal of the ship. It was the sound of war, remembered by the old vessel and screamed back into the void on the bridge. Kangdae was staring at the main screen. The sensors, now slowly waking up, showed 5 shapes. They had just appeared from faster-than-light travel. Their forms were smooth, elegant. They shone with a soft blue light against the blackness of space. They were beautiful, and they were spreading out in a perfect, half-circle formation, blocking any escape. Yunji ran onto the bridge, leaving June and Kim with a sharp order to stay put. She saw the screen. Her soldier's mind instantly analyzed the situation. Pattern is a standard envelopment. Firing line. They are preparing to attack. She dropped into her captain's chair, her hands moving over the controls. Status. Primary weapons still offline. Kangdae reported, his voice tight. Shields at 8%. Engines are dead. We are a target, Captain. We cannot move. On the Curiosity's reward, Lee Hannah saw the new ships appear on her own sensors. They were like nothing she had ever seen. They looked peaceful, even pretty. For a moment she felt hope. Then she saw their formation. It was military. Her hope turned to ice. "June, Kim, get back here now," she shouted into the comms and the cargo bay of the warship. June heard Hannah's voice in his ear. He looked at Kim Tae. They had to go. But as they turned, the ship's old comm system crackled to life. A voice came through. It was translated by the ship's computer into stiff, formal Korean. "Unidentified Deathworlder vessel. This is the Galactic Concordance Boundary Fleet. You have violated containment protocol. You are ordered to power down all systems and prepare for boarding and sterilization. Any resistance will be met with immediate force." The message repeated. The words were calm, but their meaning was not. Sterilization. June felt a chill. "They think we are a disease," he whispered out on the bridge. Yunji heard the message. Her face was stone. "They do not want to talk. They want to erase us." She opened a channel back, her voice cold and clear. "Galactic Concordance vessels. This is Captain Yunji of the Earthship Unyielding Stand. We have no hostile intent. Explain your threat." There was a pause. Then the same calm voice returned. The threat is you. Compliance is your only option. A warning light flashed on Kangdae's panel. Captain, high energy buildup. They are charging weapons. Yoonji made a decision in a second. It was not a choice between fight and flight. They could not fly. It was a choice between dying and dying while trying to protect someone. She saw the small, fragile research ship on her screen, floating helplessly between her and the alien fleet. Kim Tae, she barked into the internal comm. You are an engineer. Can you give me thrust? Any thrust at all? Kim's voice came back, shaky but quick. The main engines are frozen solid. But the maneuvering thrusters, their fuel lines might be clear. I can try to reroute emergency power to them. Do it. Now. Yoonji turned to Kangdae. Get me directional control. I just need to turn the ship. On the alien flagship, the fleet director watched the silent, armored vessel. It had not powered up any visible weapons. It had not moved. It just sat there. Perhaps it was truly dead. Perhaps the stories were too strong. He felt a pang of regret. But the protocol was clear. He gave the order. All vessels. Fire. The 5 beautiful ships glowed brighter. From their smooth surfaces, lances of brilliant blue energy shot out. They were not slow bolts. They were beams of pure plasma, designed to cut through asteroid rock and pirate ship hulls. They crossed the space silently and struck the unyielding stand. The sound was not an explosion. It was a deafening, metallic scream. The entire warship shook violently. Alarms shrieked. On the bridge, Yoonji was thrown against her straps. Lights flickered and went out, replaced by spinning red emergency beacons. Report! She yelled over the noise. Direct hits on the forward armor. Kangdae shouted. Shields are down. But hull integrity is holding. The armor took it. Yoonji looked at her screen. The external view showed the front of her ship scorched and blackened, but still whole. The alien beams had melted the surface, but had not broken through. The unyielding stand had been built to survive. On the alien ships, there was confusion. The fleet director stared at his sensors. The target should have been vaporized. Instead, its thermal signature just glowed hot in spots. It was still there. Again. Full power, he ordered. The blue beams fired a second time. Brace, Yoonji yelled. But this time she was ready. As the beams flew, she slapped her hand on the thruster control. Kim Tae had done it. A network of small thrusters along the ship's left side fired. The unyielding stand, a mountain of metal, began to turn. It was a slow, grinding turn, but it was enough. The beams slammed into the ship's side armor. The ship rocked again. But the turn also did something else. It moved the massive bulk of the unyielding stand directly in front of the tiny Curiosity's reward. The research ship was now completely hidden behind the warship. Captain, Kangdae called out. We are now blocking the research vessel. That was the point, Yoonji said, her jaw tight. Her ship was a shield on the Curiosity's reward. Hannah and Choi Min watched in stunned silence. The giant warship had moved to cover them. The second volley of alien fire had hit the warship side. Not them. They were safe for now. The alien fleet director saw this. He understood. The Deathworlder ship had protected the smaller one. It was not mindless. It was tactical. This was worse. Fear settled deeper in his stomach. Yoonji looked at the communication panel. The aliens would fire again. Her ship could not take many more hits like that. She had no weapons to shoot back. But she had a voice. She had to make them understand they were making a terrible mistake. She opened a channel to the aliens and also to the Curiosity's reward. Her voice, when she spoke, was not the calm, translated tone of the Concordance. It was human. It was tired, it was angry, and it was very, very clear. Unprovoked aggression, she said, each word like a hammer. Identify yourselves or be considered hostile. On the alien ships, the translation software filtered her words. But it could not filter the tone. To the Zlask, it sounded like the low, dangerous growl of a predator from their darkest stories. The monster was not only alive. It was talking back. The fleet director froze. The protocol did not say what to do if the monster spoke. Silence followed Yoon-ji's words. It was a heavy, waiting silence. The alien ships did not fire again. They hung in the dark, their blue lights glowing softly like confused fireflies. On the bridge of the unyielding stand, Yoon-ji watched the screen. Her heart beat hard against her ribs. She had nothing but her voice and a wall of metal. Kang-dae looked at her. They are not shooting. They are talking to each other, probably. Good, Yoon-ji said. It means they can think. It means they can be unsure. She turned to the internal comm Kim-tae. June, get to the bridge. Now. In the cargo bay, June and Kim ran. They found the hallway and climbed up to the bridge. The sight of the old, damaged command center and the two soldiers from the past was strange. But the view on the main screen of the alien fleet was stranger and more frightening. On the Curiosity's reward, Lee Hannah opened a channel. Captain Yoon, this is Lee Hannah. Thank you. You saved my ship. You are civilians. Yoon-ji's voice came back, flat and factual. It is the duty of the uniform. Now I need information. You have been out here. Do you know anything about these concordants? Nothing, Hannah said, her voice tight. We have never seen ships like that. We have never met aliens at all. We thought we were alone. June stepped forward on the warship's bridge. He looked at the elegant alien vessels. They called us Deathworlder. They talked about a protocol. They are afraid of us. Yoon-ji looked at the young geologist. Why? Maybe because of ships like this, June said, gesturing around the bridge. Maybe your war from long ago was with them, or with others like them. Kang-dae was studying the alien formation on the sensor screen. Look at their position. Perfect symmetry. Equal distance from each other. It is a textbook formation. There is no adaptation. No one has moved out of place since they arrived. It is a parade, Yoon-ji said, a hint of understanding in her voice. Not a battlefield. The alien comm crackled again. The comm voice returned. Deathworlder vessel. Your compliance is required. Power down. Allow boarding. This is your final warning. Yoon-ji leaned forward. She did not like being told what to do. She had spent her life protecting, not surrendering. She looked at June and Hannah on the screen, representatives of the future she was supposed to have died for. She looked at Kang-dae, her last soldier. She looked at her dying ship. She made a new plan. Not to win a fight. To stop one before it truly started. Kim-tae, she said. The thrusters. Can you make us move forward? Not much. Just a little. Kim looked at the ancient controls. Maybe. For a short burst. But we will drift after. We have no main engines to stop. That is fine, Yoon-ji said. She opened the channel to the aliens again. Her voice changed. It was not a growl this time. It was clear, cold, and direct. It was the voice of a captain stating a fact. Galactic Concordance. You have attacked a non-combatant research vessel and a historical ship of my people. You operate on fear and old stories. We are not your monsters. But if you make us defend ourselves, you will learn why those stories exist. She paused, letting the translation reach them. Then she gave her terms. Here is what will happen. You will stand down. You will lower your weapons. You will open a real dialogue. Or we will demonstrate the difference between following a manual and fighting a war. You have 1 minute to decide. She cut the channel. Kang-dae stared at her. Captain? Demonstrate how? We have no weapons. We have a hull. We have mass. And we have them scared of a ghost, Yoon-ji said. June. Tell your captain to take her ship and move. Go to the far side of that large ice dwarf planet. She pointed to Pluto on the screen. Stay there. Do not come out no matter what you see or hear. On the Curiosity's reward, Hannah wanted to argue. But the order was absolute. She fired her ship's engines and moved away, slipping behind the distant, gray curve of Pluto. The alien fleet watched the small ship leave. They did not fire. Their focus was on the big, dark warship. The fleet director listened to the human's words. The threat was clear, but his sensors showed the same thing. No weapon energy, no engine power. It was a bluff. It had to be. The protocol said to destroy the threat. His duty was clear. Yet, the human's voice held no panic. Only certainty. The stories said Deathworlders were cunning. They laid traps. Time? Yunji asked. 30 seconds. Kong Day said. Kimu. On my mark, full forward thrust on the lower port thrusters. I want to point our nose at the ship in the center. The big one. Kim's hands flew over the engineering panel. Ready. The final seconds ticked down. On the alien flagship, the fleet director made his choice. Fear of the protocol was greater than fear of the unknown. Target the engines at the rear. Disable it. Then we board. His weapons officers aimed. 10 seconds, Kong Day said, his voice quiet. Yunji watched the screen. The alien ships were starting to glow again. They had chosen. They were going to fire. Now, Kim Tae hit the controls. Across the belly and left side of the unyielding stand, dozens of small thrusters fired at once. They were not strong, but they were enough. The massive warship, kilometers of metal and armor, began to slowly turn. It was not running away. It was turning its sharp, hardened nose toward the center of the alien formation, toward the flagship. It was like a great beast lowering its head to charge. It was moving. After being dead for centuries, it was moving with purpose. On the alien flagship. Alarm sounded. The target is moving. It is on a collision course with this vessel. The fleet director's calm broke. A collision? At that speed? It will take days to reach us. But that was not the point. The point was the gesture. The dead ship was coming for them. Not shooting. Not talking. Just coming. Slowly, inevitably. It was the most primitive threat possible. It was a statement. I will endure your fire, and I will not stop. Fire. Fire everything. Stop its momentum. The fleet director shouted. Blue lances of plasma shot out again. They struck the front of the unyielding stand. Ice and metal vapor burst into space. The ship shook but did not slow. It kept turning, its nose now perfectly aimed at the heart of the beautiful alien flagship. The humans were not following the alien manual. They were writing a new one, page by terrifying page. And the first rule was, do not back a Deathworlder into a corner. Panic was not a common feeling on a concordance vessel. They were built for order. But on the flagship's bridge, the air was now thick with a sharp, cold fear. The massive human warship was turning toward them. It was not a fast turn. It was slow, like a mountain deciding to fall. Its scarred front armor, glowing red-hot from their last hits, pointed right at them like a blunt finger. Increase fire! Target its thrusters! The fleet director ordered, his voice higher than before. More blue beams lanced out. They struck the lower part of the human ship. Small explosions of gas and debris puffed out into space. The unyielding stand shuddered, but the turn continued. One of the thrusters died. Then another. But the ship had many. Its momentum was set. It is not stopping, a sensor officer said, their voice quiet with disbelief. On the bridge of the unyielding stand, the noise was terrible. Each impact roared through the metal frame. Warning lights flashed everywhere. Kong Day held onto his station. Forward thrusters are failing. We are losing control of the turn. It does not matter, Yunji said, her eyes fixed on the screen. The alien flagship grew larger in the view. We just needed to point the right way. Now we drift. They will do the rest. Do what? June asked, holding onto a railing. The ship shook again. They will try to get out of the way, Yunji said simply. And when they move, they will break their perfect formation. One will move into another's path. They will think about themselves, not their group. Watch. The alien ships were beautiful, but they were not made for chaos. The sight of the gigantic, unstoppable object drifting toward them was something their tactics did not cover. The fleet director, his mind racing, made a logical choice. All vessels. Evade. Scatter pattern. It was the wrong choice. The 5 graceful ships, which had been in a perfect half-circle, now all tried to move at once. They turned sharply, their blue engines flaring. But they had been too close together. They were not used to emergency moves. 2 of the ships on the edge turned inward, right into the paths of their neighbors. Alarms blared across their fleet. One ship had to fire its engines hard to avoid a collision, spinning out of control for a moment. The perfect formation shattered into confusion. Yoon-ji watched, her face like stone. They fight alone the moment they are scared. But they are still shooting, Kim-tae yelled as another blast shook the ship. Then we stop being a target, Yoon-ji said. Kang-dae, what is between us and them? Kang-dae checked the scans. A field of small rocks and ice. Debris from old collisions. Good. Kim used the last of the starboard thrusters. Push us into that debris field. Gently. With the last few working thrusters, Kim nudged the massive ship. It began to drift sideways into a cloud of frozen rocks and dust. The alien ships kept firing, but now their blue beams hit the rocks and ice first. The debris vaporized into huge clouds of glittering steam and fragments. It made a screen, hiding the human ship. They cannot see us, Kang-dae said. And their energy weapons will heat up the debris, make more steam, Yoon-ji said. It is just weather. But it is weather they did not plan for. On the alien ships, the view screens were filled with a storm of their own making. The human ship was a fading shadow behind a blizzard of hot ice. Cease fire! Cease fire! The fleet director commanded. The shooting stopped. The silence that followed was filled with the pinging of small rocks hitting their own hulls. They were blind. Yoon-ji saw her chance. They are confused. They are blind. Now we show them the teeth they think we have. Captain, we have no teeth, Kang-dae reminded her. We have one, she said. She pointed to a system on Kim-tae's panel. It was marked Gravity Anchor. It was not a weapon. It was a tool for holding the ship near large asteroids to mine them. Can you power that? Make it strong, and then reverse the polarity. Kim-tae looked at the old system. I think so. It will take all the backup power we have left. For one shot. Do it, Yoon-ji said. Kim worked fast. The unyielding stand had one final surprise. Deep in its belly, a machine woke up. It began to pull power from every non-essential system. The lights on the bridge dimmed. The screen flickered. The alien sensors saw a huge energy build up inside the human ship. Director, the Deathworlder vessel is charging a weapon. Massive energy signature. The fleet director felt true dread. This was it. The monster's final blow. Brace for impact. All shields to maximum. The human ship glowed from within. Then it fired. But it did not fire a beam or a missile. It released a powerful, invisible pulse. A gravity wave. The wave hit the cloud of debris between the ships. It did not hurt the aliens. Instead, it did something else. Pushed. Every single piece of rock and ice, millions of them, was suddenly shoved forward, away from the human ship. It was like a giant hand swatting the cloud. The debris cloud became a debris shotgun blast, rushing toward the alien fleet at high speed. It was not powerful enough to break their shields. But it was completely unexpected. Thousands of small, hard objects pinged and rattled against their beautiful hulls. It sounded like a terrible hailstorm. Their shields glowed blue as they worked to deflect the rocks. It was not deadly. It was overwhelming. It was chaos. And in that moment of chaos, Yoon-ji made her final move. All remaining thruster power, now, straight at the flagship. The unyielding stand, hidden by the last of the steam, used its final strength. Pushed forward not fast, but with purpose. It drove through the cloud, its red-hot nose aimed like a spear. The alien flagship's sensors cleared just in time to see it emerge. The human warship was right there, closer than anything should be. It was not firing. It was just coming. Too close for their main guns. The sheer size of it filled their view. Then, with a heavy, final clunk, metal met metal. The unyielding stand did not crash. It did not ram. It simply arrived. It extended its heavy, magnetic docking clamps, the same ones it used to latch onto asteroids. They clamped onto the smooth hull of the alien flagship with a sound that echoed through both ships. The two ships were now locked together. The big, ugly, armored human warship held the beautiful, shining alien vessel in a tight grip. Silence on the alien bridge. The fleet director stumbled from his chair. He looked at the main screen, which now showed only the scarred, terrifying metal of the human ship's hull, right outside his window. Yoon-ji opened the channel. Her voice was calm, tired, but firm. It carried no sound of victory, only finality. Galactic Concordance flagship. You are held. You cannot move without tearing your own hull apart. Your formation is broken. Your protocol has failed. You will now listen, or you will learn what a Deathworlder does when it has nothing left to lose. She was not yelling. That made it worse. She was just stating a fact. The fight was over. They had lost without the human ship ever firing a single weapon. The silence was total. Inside the gripped alien flagship, the Zlas crew stood frozen. Their director stared at the monstrous wall of metal now pressed against his viewport. He could see the deep scars and burns from their own weapons. The human ship had taken everything they had and still held them fast. The stories were true about their toughness. But the stories were wrong about their minds. This was not a wild beast. It was a cold, precise predator. On the bridge of the unyielding stand, the humans waited. The only light came from the red emergency beacons, casting long shadows. Yoon-ji sat in her command chair, breathing slowly. Her body ached. Kang-dae watched the sensor screen, which showed the other alien ships drifting, weapons still aimed but not firing. They were leaderless now, confused. June broke the quiet. What now? They could still attack. They will not, Yoon-ji said, her voice soft but sure. Their leader is with us, and they are afraid. Fear makes you hesitate. Hesitation loses wars. She opened a channel, speaking only to the ship she held. Fleet Director, your move. Order your other ships to power down their weapons. Or my next action will not be a grab. It will be a crush. She let the threat hang in the air. It was a bluff. The unyielding stand had no power left to crush a tin can. But the aliens did not know that. A long minute passed. Then the calm alien voice returned, but it was different now. Tired. Defeated. This is the fleet director. To all concordance vessels. Stand down. Power down weapons. Hold position. On the screen, Kang-dae saw the energy readings from the 4 other ships fade. Their bright blue glows dimmed. They are doing it, he whispered. Good, Yoon-ji said. She stood up, her knees feeling weak. Now we talk. June, get Captain Lee Hannah. We need her here. Kim-tae, see what power you can get back. We need lights and air. Soon, a small shuttle from the Curiosity's reward carried Lee Hannah over. She stepped onto the ancient warship's bridge, her eyes wide. She saw the tired soldiers from the past and the grim determination on Yoon-ji's face. Hannah spoke to the alien director. This is Captain Lee Hannah of the Martian research vessel. We mean you no harm. We did not know about your people or your protocols. We were just exploring. The fleet director's face appeared on the main screen. His large, dark eyes looked at the humans, the fierce captain in her old uniform, the young civilians in their modern gear. The monster had many faces, and none of them were frothing with rage. They just looked tired and sad and determined. You activated a Deathworlder warship, the director said. Our oldest laws command us to destroy such a threat, to prevent what happened long ago. What happened long ago? Yoon-ji asked. The director shared their history. It was a story of first contact, centuries past, with a different branch of humanity. A violent, expanding empire from Earth that saw the peaceful concordance as weak. There were battles. The humans were few, but they were ferocious and clever. They attacked supply lines, used asteroids as weapons, turned the environment against their enemies. They did not fight fair. To the concordance, it was a nightmare. Then, one day, the human ships just vanished. The concordance believed they had won, or that the humans had destroyed themselves. They made the protocols to ensure it would never happen again. Yoonji listened. Her face was hard. That was a different time, a different human nation. We fought our own wars over Earth. We nearly destroyed ourselves. That is why my ship was lost. We were fighting for our own home. The people you met were gone long before I was born. June stepped forward. Today, humanity is not one empire. We are many groups. We explore. We study. We are not perfect, but we are not what you fear. The fleet director was silent for a long time. He had seen proof. This human ship could have destroyed his flagship. It had chosen not to. It had protected the smaller ship. It had used tricks, not brute force. It was a terrifying kind of mercy. Your actions do not match our stories, he finally said. But the law is clear. Then the law is wrong, Lee Hanna said firmly. You attacked us without asking a single question. You would have killed us for being what your grandparents feared. Is that justice? Or is that just fear? The words hung in the air. The director had no answer. His whole life was built on following the rules. Now the rules had almost caused a terrible mistake. Here is my offer, Yoonji said. She was a soldier making a treaty. You let our research ship go home. It will tell our people about you. We, the crew of this ship, will go with you. Kang Dae looked at her sharply, but she continued. We will go to your outpost, not as prisoners, as a diplomatic crew, from Earth's past and its present. You can see we are not monsters. We can learn about your ways, and we can explain ours. We can change the story. The director was stunned. The monster was offering to walk peacefully into their house. It was the bravest or craziest thing he had ever heard. You would trust us? He asked. No, Yoonji said honestly. But someone has to start. Or next time you might not attack a ship that chooses not to fire back. And we might not be so gentle. The choice was clear. Continue a war based on old fear, or try for peace based on new truth. The fleet director made his decision. We accept your terms. The research vessel may leave. Your ship will be escorted. Under your own power if you have it. We will not board you. It was a gesture of trust. The grip of the magnetic clamps released. The unyielding stand drifted slowly back from the alien flagship. Kim Tae managed to get the maneuvering thrusters working again, just enough to guide the ship. Lee Hanna returned to her own ship. She promised to carry the message home. As the Curiosity's reward turned and headed back toward the inner solar system, June watched it go from the old warship's viewport. He was staying with Yoonji and Kang Dae. He was now a bridge to the future. Yoonji stood beside him, looking at the stars. Her war was over, but her duty was not. She had to protect the future she had woken up to. It is a strange peace, Captain, Kang Dae said, joining them. It is not peace yet, Yoonji said. It is just a chance. Now we have to make sure our people and theirs do not waste it. The alien ships, their weapons dark, formed a new shape around them. Not an attack formation, an escort. The strange group began to move slowly, heading out of the solar system toward a future that was no longer written in fear, but had to be written carefully, word by word, by those brave enough to try.